The world watched her walk down the aisle. Hundreds of guests, gold-trimmed invitations, a private orchestra playing Vivaldi. Elena Monroe's wedding was a masterpiece of opulence and status. Cameras flashed. Champagne flowed. The dress, a custom silk design flown in from Paris, hugged her like a second skin. But inside, Elena couldn't breathe. Her smile was practiced, her posture perfect. Every step she took down the aisle felt like a nail hammered into a coffin she never agreed to be buried in. Martin Caldwell, twice her age, twice as cold, stood waiting at the altar with the satisfied smirk of a man who'd bought more than just a bride. He'd secured a merger with the Monroes, a dynasty preserved, another piece of the empire claimed, and everyone clapped as she approached. But no one noticed her hands trembling beneath the bouquet. No one heard the voice in her head screaming, "Run." At the halfway mark, Elena stopped walking. The music faltered. Her mother's eyes narrowed. Her father's jaw clenched. Murmurs rippled through the sea of designer gowns and tailored tuxedos. Then, Elena did the unthinkable. She dropped the bouquet, hiked up her dress, and ran. Out of the church, past the shocked gasps and clicking cameras, down the marble steps, barefoot and breathless. She didn't know where she was going, only that she couldn't stay. She bolted across the street, straight into the path of a black Maserati. The driver slammed the brakes, but not in time. Elena hit the hood, tumbled hard, and landed with a gasp. For a moment, the world stilled. Then a door opened. A man in a tailored charcoal suit stepped out, dark brows furrowed in concern, his presence commanding. He knelt beside her. "Are you? Holy hell. You're the Monroe girl." Elena looked up into the steel-gray eyes of Grayson Wolfe, billionaire CEO, media-shy mogul, and the last person she ever expected to see. "I'm fine," she breathed. "Just, please, don't take me back." He stared at her for one beat too long. Then he said the most unexpected thing of all. "Get in." And just like that, the runaway bride vanished into a stranger's car, a storm of flashing cameras behind her, and a future no one, not even she, could have predicted. The string quartet played a hauntingly beautiful melody, echoing across the pristine white courtyard of the Ashford estate. Rows of white roses framed the aisle, the scent cloying and overwhelming. Cameras flashed. The crowd whispered in awe. Everything was perfect, except for the bride. Elena Monroe stood behind the chapel doors, heart pounding beneath layers of imported lace and suffocating silk. Her veil fluttered with every shaky breath. Around her, bridesmaids flitted like nervous butterflies, adjusting her gown, whispering last-minute affirmations. "Elena, it's time," her mother hissed, eyes narrowing in that familiar way. "Do not embarrass this family." Elena didn't respond. Her eyes were fixed on the ornate mirror across the room. Staring back at her was a stranger, a doll in a dress painted and posed, about to marry a man twice her age because it was expected, because her family's name depended on it, because she never learned how to say no. Until now. Her fingers trembled as they reached down and tugged off her heels. "Elena?" one of the bridesmaids asked. She turned, grabbed the hem of her dress in both hands, and ran. Through the hallway, down the stairs, past gasping guests and stunned staff. Shouts echoed behind her. Her fiancé's deep, demanding voice boomed her name. But she didn't stop. The only thing on her mind was escape. Elena sprinted out the back doors into the estate gardens. Her dress snagged on rose bushes. Her veil flew off. Her bare feet slapped against stone paths as she spotted a golf cart parked beside the gardener's shed. She didn't hesitate. Jumping into the driver's seat, she yanked it into gear and floored the accelerator. The electric cart jerked, then roared to life, well, as much as a golf cart could roar. She didn't get far. Halfway down the private drive, she rounded a corner too fast, just in time to see a sleek obsidian black vintage Aston Martin pull in through the estate gates. Too late. Crash. The front of the golf cart slammed into the side of the Aston Martin with a metal-crunching thud. Elena flew forward, smacking against the steering wheel. Pain shot up her ribs, but adrenaline kept her going. The driver of the car threw open his door, cursing under his breath. What the hell? He stopped mid-sentence, eyes locking with hers. He was tall, broad-shouldered, dressed in a crisp charcoal suit that looked like it cost more than most cars. A watch gleamed on his wrist. His chiseled face twisted in disbelief. And then, anger. You hit my car. Elena winced. Sorry. I wasn't looking. He stepped closer, surveying the damage. You weren't looking? You drove a golf cart into a $2 million car. I said I was sorry. You're barefoot, and is that a wedding dress? She took a shaky breath. Look, I really don't have time to explain. The estate's front doors burst open. Shouts rang out again. Elena looked over her shoulder and saw her mother, her father, her fiancé, all heading toward them like vultures in designer suits. She turned back to the man with the car. Please, help me. He blinked. What? I need to get out of here. Now, please. He looked her up and down. Are you kidnapped or something? No. Not exactly. But if they catch me, they'll drag me back down that aisle and force me to marry a man I don't love. A man I don't even like. He studied her, jaw tight, eyes calculating. And then, something in his expression shifted. His lips pressed into a thin line and he muttered, Screw it. Get in. What? You heard me. Get in the car. I'll deal with the damage later. Elena didn't wait for him to change his mind. She grabbed her torn skirt, ran around to the passenger side, and jumped in. The leather seats were buttery soft, the scent of cedar and luxury washing over her as he slammed the door shut behind her. What's your name? He asked, throwing the car into reverse. Elena. He nodded. Grayson Wolfe. Her eyes widened. The Grayson Wolfe? The real estate billionaire. Yeah, well, today I'm just your getaway driver. Buckle up. With a sharp turn and a roar of the engine, they peeled out of the estate drive. Behind them, the sounds of shouting faded into nothing but wind. They didn't speak for the next 10 miles. Grayson kept his eyes on the road, his jaw ticking. Elena stared out the window, heart thudding with both terror and exhilaration. She hadn't just run away from a wedding. She'd run away from everything she'd ever known. Finally, he broke the silence. You do realize you just crashed into a billionaire's car, ruined your wedding, and probably started a media firestorm. I didn't ask for your car to be in the way, she shot back, more defensive than she intended. He glanced at her, one brow raised. You always this mouthy, or just on wedding days? She laughed, a breathless, surprised sound. It felt strange, freeing. I haven't spoken my mind in years, she said quietly. Guess I'm making up for lost time. Grayson didn't reply right away. He pulled into a quiet motel on the outskirts of a small town, parked the car and turned off the engine. We'll stay here for the night, he said. Here? This place looks like it hasn't had guests since the 90s. Exactly why they won't find us. No one would think to look. Elena hesitated. Why are you helping me? He looked at her for a long moment. I don't know. Maybe because I hate weddings too. Inside the motel, the clerk barely looked up when Grayson handed him cash. He booked 2 rooms side by side. Elena showered in silence, scrubbing off the day's chaos, the perfume of obligation, the lingering fear. She borrowed one of Grayson's shirts, massive on her small frame, and stepped out into the cool night air. He was sitting on the hood of his car looking up at the stars. She joined him. I don't know what I'm doing, she admitted. Grayson tilted his head toward her. Want to go back? No. God, no. Then you're doing fine. She glanced at him. You're not what I expected. He smirked. You expected a spoiled billionaire? I expected you to call the cops on me. I might still. Depends on how good your apology is. She laughed again, this time fuller, real. Thank you, she said softly, for helping me. Grayson looked away, jaw clenched. Don't thank me yet. You're not out of this mess. She stared at him. But for the first time in her life, Elena wasn't afraid of the mess, because maybe, just maybe, it led somewhere worth going. The motel room was a relic of decades past, with faded wallpaper, a buzzing neon vacancy sign outside the window, and a creaky twin bed covered in a floral bedspread. But to Elena, it felt like freedom. She lay there staring at the ceiling, wrapped in a giant t-shirt, and the surreal realization that she had just destroyed the wedding of the year, run from her wealthy, controlling fiancé, and was now hiding out with Grayson Wolfe, a billionaire known more for his ruthless boardroom tactics than for offering sanctuary to runaway brides. Sleep didn't come easily. At 2:17 a.m., Elena knocked on the adjoining door. It opened almost immediately. Grayson stood there in a white t-shirt and sweatpants, tousled hair and bare feet. He didn't speak, just raised an eyebrow, silently asking. She admitted she couldn't sleep. He opened the door wider and offered coffee and bad cable TV. They sat cross-legged on the floor of his motel room, sharing instant coffee and watching an old action movie full of ridiculous explosions. The mood was surprisingly easy. Warm. Elena found herself laughing, truly laughing for the first time in ages. She confessed she used to dream about running away like this. Grayson asked if crashing into strangers' cars was part of the dream. She called it a bonus. He chuckled, then asked what finally made her do it. She stared into her mug and explained that if she had gone through with the wedding, she would have lost herself forever. No more pretending to love country clubs and political galas. No more fake smiles. No more being a trophy for her family's ambitions. She added that her fiancé was 22 years older, a powerful investor chosen by her parents to secure their legacy. Her voice turned bitter as she noted how her happiness had never mattered, only the headlines. Grayson said he understood that feeling. She looked up at him, surprised. He explained that he grew up poor, in foster homes, and once he made his first few million, his family suddenly treated him like a miracle. Everyone wanted something. Everyone expected something. She asked if he still talked to them. He said he talked to his accountant. That was enough. A silence passed between them. Then she asked if that was why he never married. He replied that he'd been engaged once, a long time ago. The woman said she loved him, but she ran off with his business partner and half the company. Elena winced. He said he didn't do love anymore. Too messy, too expensive. She teased him about rescuing a barefoot bride. He smiled and admitted he had a weakness for chaos. Later that morning, they hit the road again. Elena had stuffed her wedding dress into a plastic bag and now wore an oversized hoodie, jeans, and a pair of sneakers Grayson bought her from a 24-hour convenience store. They stopped at a gas station diner for breakfast. Over scrambled eggs and weak coffee, Elena's phone buzzed for the first time since the wedding. She had 87 missed calls and a barrage of texts. Her mother accused her of ruining everything. Her father demanded she come home. Her fiancé promised she'd regret this. One message simply said, "We know where you are." She froze. Grayson noticed. He asked what was wrong. She said they were tracking her. He calmly took her phone and promised to get her a burner. Until then, she should turn it off. She nodded numbly, realizing she'd underestimated their determination. He reminded her that she was Elena Monroe, daughter of the Monroes, engaged to a political puppet. Of course they would go this far. She asked why they cared so much about dragging her back. He leaned in and said that women like her, women with a voice, scared people who relied on silence. The words cut straight through her. No one had ever said it that way before. She whispered that maybe she should stop being silent. He dropped some bills on the table and told her they needed to disappear again. He knew a place. That place turned out to be a lakeside cabin 2 hours away, hidden in the woods. It was quiet and serene, owned by one of Grayson's friends who owed him several favors. By sunset, they had settled in. Elena stood on the porch, arms crossed, watching the golden light shimmer across the water. Grayson joined her and asked if she was hungry. She said she was starving. He offered to cook, sort of. She raised an eyebrow, skeptical. He reminded her he owned restaurants. She replied that it wasn't the same as boiling pasta. He smirked, playfully wounded. They made spaghetti together. Grayson managed to burn the garlic bread, and Elena laughed until she cried. It was messy and warm and real. After dinner, they danced to an old Sinatra tune playing from his phone. Under the stars, Elena moved barefoot across the wooden porch, her head resting against Grayson's chest, listening to his steady heartbeat. She whispered her thanks. He rested his chin on her head and said it had been a long time since he let anyone close. She looked up at him, but when their eyes met, he stepped back and said they should call it a night. Disappointment flickered in her, but she agreed. The next morning, the quiet shattered with the sound of tires on gravel. Grayson was already at the window when Elena ran into the room. A black SUV had pulled up at the edge of the driveway. Two men in suits stepped out, one of them her fiancé. Elena panicked, realizing they must have tracked her phone before she turned it off. Grayson moved quickly, pushing her gently toward the back door and instructing her to run to the lake, down the trail, and hide by the dock. She didn't want to leave him alone, but he insisted. He told her he'd handled worse. Before she could argue, he said something that stopped her breath. He reminded her he didn't believe in love. She nodded, trying not to cry. Then he added that he believed in her. And before she could respond, he turned and walked out the front door. Elena ran through the trees, heart pounding, down to the dock where she crouched behind a boat, hidden by shadows. Voices echoed up the hill. Her fiancé demanded to see her. Grayson told them she didn't want to. They argued. Her fiancé insisted she was his. Grayson corrected him. She was. Past tense. Now she was under his protection. He warned them to leave or deal with his lawyers. A long silence followed. Then retreating footsteps. When Grayson finally found her down by the dock, she threw herself into his arms. She whispered that he could have been hurt. He held her tightly and said so could she. Under the pale morning sky, they stood wrapped in quiet safety. She said she couldn't keep running forever. He told her she didn't have to. Then he leaned back and looked into her eyes. But when stop, I would be right here, beside you. 2 weeks later, Elena Monroe was a ghost in the world that once tried to own her. No headlines, no Instagram updates, no gala appearances. Just flannel shirts, coffee mugs, and the sound of waves lapping against the dock of Grayson Wolf's hidden lakeside cabin. And Grayson. Solid, protective, complicated Grayson. Their days slipped into a rhythm. Breakfast together, long walks, him working on his laptop while she read or sketched, dinners that got progressively less burnt, nights spent talking about everything and nothing, always sitting too close, always pretending the space between them didn't buzz with something dangerous and real. But they hadn't kissed. Not once. Elena didn't know whether to be relieved or frustrated. She stood now in the living room, barefoot on the wooden floors, staring at a canvas she'd been painting. A stormy sky. A girl with no face standing at the edge of a cliff. She didn't know where the image came from, but it felt honest. Elena, Grayson's voice called from the porch. Can we talk? She wiped her hands on a towel and stepped outside. He was sitting in the Adirondack chair, shirt sleeves rolled up, eyes shadowed under his dark lashes. There was a stillness to him today that unnerved her. What's wrong? She asked. He looked up. I think it's time we make a choice. She stiffened. What kind of choice? I got a call from someone I trust in the city, a lawyer. They're offering a deal. Your parents and your ex are panicking over the press. They're scared this whole thing will explode. So they'll drop everything, wedding contracts, business deals, even the engagement. In exchange, you go quiet. No interviews, no tell-all. Elena blinked. They're offering a deal? Yeah, but it comes with a condition. You go back to New York, quietly, alone. The word hit like a punch. Alone. She stepped back. So that's it? After everything, you're just handing me back to them? No, he said quickly. That's not what I'm doing. I told them I'd ask you. This is your choice. But if you stay, Elena, things won't be easy. You'll be cut off. No family money, no connections. You'll be on your own. Her chest tightened. I already am. Grayson stood. Not if you stay here. She looked up, eyes locking with his. You said you don't do love? I don't. Then what is this? She whispered. He hesitated, then stepped closer, brushing a strand of hair from her face. This is different. I don't know what to call it, but it keeps me up at night. It makes me think about the future, about you. She swallowed. That sounds dangerously like love, Mr. Wolf. He gave a dry laugh. I'm terrified it is. Their eyes lingered, the unspoken words pressed between them like a weight. Then Elena said softly, Tell me not to go, and I won't. Grayson stared at her for a long moment. Then his jaw clenched. I won't trap you. That's what they did. I won't be another cage. Her eyes filled with tears. Then maybe I should go. That night she packed her things. She left a note on the porch. One line. Thank you for showing me what freedom feels like. Then she called a car and disappeared into the night. New York was cold, impersonal. Her return made headlines for 72 hours. Rumors swirled. Pregnancy, blackmail, affairs. But the story faded as quickly as it had exploded. Elena moved into a modest studio in Brooklyn. She started painting again, selling sketches online, teaching art at a youth center. It wasn't glamorous, but it was hers. She tried not to Google him. She tried not to think about him every time she heard Sinatra or saw a lakeside in a painting. But one crisp Thursday evening, nearly 3 months after she left, there was a knock at her door. She opened it, and there he was. Grayson Wolf, standing in the hallway like a memory brought to life, holding a painting wrapped in brown paper. She blinked. You found me? You left a trail of art behind. I just followed it. She didn't move. Why are you here? He took a deep breath and unwrapped the painting. It was hers, the faceless girl at the edge of the cliff. You forgot this, he said, and I think I finally understand it. She stared, silent. She's not afraid, he said softly. She's just waiting for someone to jump with her. Elena looked up at him. Grayson's voice cracked a little. I've been alone most of my life. I got used to it. I thought needing someone was weakness, but it's not. Not when it's you. Tears welled in her eyes. Grayson, I love you, Elena. She took a shaky breath. I thought you didn't do love. He stepped closer. I didn't. Until you crashed into my life and ruined everything. She laughed through her tears. So what now? He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a key. This is for the lake house. I renovated it, made the studio bigger, and there's a dock with your name on it. She took the key, heart pounding. You still want me? He smiled. I never stopped. Then, finally, he kissed her. Slow, deep, real. The kind of kiss that rewrote every promise she'd ever made herself. And in that tiny Brooklyn apartment, with paint-stained fingers and a heart that finally felt whole, Elena knew she hadn't just found a way out. She had found her way home. 1 year later, the lake shimmered beneath the afternoon sun, calm and golden. The dock, once worn and creaky, had been rebuilt, wider, stronger, with a pair of canvas chairs at the end, facing the water. A breeze stirred the wind chimes above the porch, and somewhere inside the cabin soft jazz played. Elena sat barefoot on the dock, a paintbrush in her hand, a smear of cerulean blue on her cheek, and a quiet smile on her lips. She wasn't hiding anymore. Her phone buzzed beside her, an incoming call from a gallery in Manhattan. They wanted to feature her latest series, The Woman Who Chose Herself. She silenced the call for now. There was time. She didn't need to run anymore. She'd created a life she didn't want to escape from. Behind her, footsteps echoed on the wooden boards. Grayson. He wrapped his arms around her from behind, dropping a kiss on her shoulder before settling into the chair beside her. They confirmed it, he said, holding up his phone. The youth center downtown approved the donation. Full funding. They're naming the new art wing after you. She turned to him, eyes wide. Grayson, you inspired it. That space gave you a new beginning. Now it'll do the same for others. Her chest tightened. You always know exactly what to say. He smirked. I'm improving. They sat in silence, listening to the waves. Then Grayson reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Elena froze. He opened it, not to reveal a ring, but a silver key on a delicate chain. For the gallery in the city, he said. I bought the building. Figured we needed a place to crash when we're not here. She blinked back a laugh and a few tears. You really don't do love halfway, do you? I don't do love often, he replied. But when I do, it's forever. She leaned in, pressing her forehead to his. I never thought crashing into someone's car would give me a future, she whispered, and I never thought a runaway bride would teach me how to stay. They kissed, slow and steady, like a promise sealed in sunlight and lake water. And somewhere in the trees above, the wind carried laughter, free, fearless, and full of everything they'd both thought they lost. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share. Bye. See you in our next video.